Oops. Hi guys. How's everybody doing? We're trying something different tonight with some camera work, so I'm just gonna ask for forgiveness in advance if this doesn't go well. Let me just make sure. Hey, let me just make sure I'm up on Facebook. Happy Monday. Did everybody have a good weekend? I didn't do too much. I worked on that Tula quilt. Oh good. Okay, I'm up. Hi, Facebook land. I worked on my Tula quilt and I sat around and watched TV. And I took a weekend. Hi, Carla. So today is Monday, which means I call it the Ask the Doctor series. Carla, I'm good. Thanks for asking. I'm a little late actually because my daughter and I, my helper and I needed to work out some stuff with the camera. Hi, Linda. Linda Thorpe, Elmore Shearmeister Thorpe from New York. Hello. And Linda from Texas. Linda Wood from Texas. Hi. It's cold and wet again here in Seattle. I know that's a big shocker. And you're probably thinking by June 15th, some of our summer would have started, but it hasn't. So we're still in our gloom and doom. Hi, Marcia from Kentucky. Thanks for joining us tonight. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is a continuation of my 3-part series on buying your first featherweight. Previous to this live, we had done one on what to consider, what to think about before you even go buy a machine, what to think about and consider while you're looking at a prospective machine. And today we are going to talk about what to do when this new machine lands in your lap. The reason why I thought it was important to cover this today was because I've gotten a handful and a half of calls this last week, and it's very obvious to me that during this season of sheltering in place and being at home a lot more with our loved ones, that we are sewing. All of us are sewing. It seems to be some of our sanity, actually. I know it has been for me. I'm working on quarantine quilt number 6. Hi, Mary from Seattle. And so I thought that I would review just some basic stuff that you need to know when you bring home your featherweight for the first time to protect her and give her a good long life. So first and foremost, if you purchase, hi Quilted Hugs, if you purchase your machine from an antique dealer or even a private sale from someone that you don't personally know, assume that the machine has not been cared for and maintained as well as you're going to care for and maintain from this point forward. So there's some things you want to do right out of the gate to make sure that she's up and running before you put too many hours of work on her. First and foremost, she needs to have all of her oil and lubrication points hit before you sew on her much. And what I mean by all is the oil points that you would do on an annual basis. So if you have your Singer manual, the book that came with your machine, or if you've purchased a resource from me, in there is the complete list of all of the oil points. Hi, Joanne from Mississippi. I have done a couple of lives going over the different oil points. There are some oil points that are are more frequent. It's actually about every 8 hours of sewing. So we're going to actually talk about those today. So again, you're new to the machine lands on your table. What do you do first? Oil on all of the oil points, and I would also do a motor service by changing out the motor, the grease on her motor. So listen to me very carefully. This is important. You never put any oil in your motor, only grease. And grease is very special and specific to the featherweight. It has to be the right viscosity for these little, or melting point for these little antique motors. There's only a half of a handful of places across the country that you can purchase the grease. And we're one of them, featherweightdoctor.com. If you got a little grease tube with your machine, you don't use it. It's past its shelf life. They are not meant to live for 87 years, which is when the first machine rolled off the assembly line. So purchase some new grease. Any sewing machine oil is fine. So sewing machine oil is sewing machine oil is sewing machine oil, and it also doesn't have shelf life to it. So if you have sewing machine oil from your Bernina or Pfaff or whatever, you can use that on the machine. So the other thing that you can consider adding to a very short list of parts that you might want to buy is an LED light bulb. LED light bulbs are much brighter than the incandescent light bulb that is probably in your antique machine. It also it doesn't get hot, so it doesn't scald you, doesn't scald your fabric. And it lengthens the life of your machine by not swelling the steel gears behind the lamp fixture, to therefore put additional load on the motor and then shorten the life of the motor. So think about light bulb, grease, potentially oil. The other thing that you can consider is if your belt doesn't feel robust, it doesn't feel like that it has a lot of firmness to it, then you definitely can replace a belt. I'm talking about the external belt here on the back of the machines. So light bulb belt, if your machine is stinky, now I'm not talking about Becky from Facebook said, I love my LED light bulb. Isn't it awesome? The other thing that if your machine is stinky, not the case stinky, that's a whole nother problem, but the machine stinky, you might need a new felt liner that sits in the bottom of the pan, and potentially you could need new bed cushions, which are technically the feet on the bottom of your machine. So if you're missing feet or the machine has no stickiness to it, so it's literally sliding across the table as you're trying to sew with it, you might be in the market for new bed cushions. So those are kind of the parts to think about and what to do when the machine comes home. But I really wanted to go over the important oil points that need to be addressed every 8 hours of sewing. So if you're on a sewing retreat or you are I've had customers that I've had conversations with lately who are sewing 4 or 5 hours a day, then you probably should be hitting the every 8 hour oil holes about every other day if you're sewing that often on the machine. This month at Featherweight Doctor, we are celebrating resources. Again, there are so many new featherweight owners, brand new featherweight owners. Welcome to the club. And so I really wanted to highlight some of the resources that help navigating these antique machines that are simple, but they definitely have some, idiosyncrasies to them. And it's really important that you make yourself aware of what you need to do to keep these little machines running for a long time. So resources are going to be mentioned in our newsletter this week. I'll specifically highlight Dave McCullum, Mr. McCullum's book, who was our mentor, my husband and I's mentor. His book is called The Featherweight and I. I have reprints of all of the original manuals, the service manuals. Hi, Lisa from Connecticut. Oh, hi, Mom. Mom's visiting is on from Texas. Anyway, so be looking for that in the newsletter later on this week. If you have not already signed up for our newsletter, then you'll want to do that. Usually I don't know when I'm giving away this month. I have to think about that still. Probably should do that pretty soon. But there's usually something, thank you. There's usually something good in the newsletter for everybody to want to open the newsletter. So you can sign up on our website, featherweightdoctor.com, and then you're going to want to subscribe to the newsletter. It's on the homepage. All right, let's talk about the every 8 hour oil points. So this is my oiler. It has a telescoping point on it, so it gives me pinpoint accuracy. Again, any oil is fine. So it's fine to have the Singer, the Singer antique oil, the Pfaff, the Bernina. If you have sewing machine oil with your other sewing machine, then it is totally fine to use that. Hi, Annette from Kansas. Thanks for joining us. All right, so I'm going to have my helper grab my grab my camera and I'm going to have her come around to the other side of me so you can see what I'm seeing. Okay. Thanks, guys. Oh. So let me do this really quick. Okay. All right. So, all right. Thank you, helper. All right. So the every 8-hour oil holes, you can see that there's lots of points on here. They're not necessarily every 8 hours. The ones that you really care about are behind your faceplate. I'm going to grab my light so you guys can see really well. So remove your faceplate. Make sure you hang on to it really well so it doesn't slap down onto your bed and scratch your bed. Are these lights flashing in your eyes? Okay. So can you guys see that really well? Yes, can they see really well? Okay. So what I want to point out is this arm right here, this linkage right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this forward and see how that really rotates around when I spin the hand wheel. So this linkage right here, this arm needs an oil, a drop of oil at a couple of different parts every 8 hours. And you might, so there's a hole on top of this big screw here at the top behind the shaft. There's a hole on top of here, a hole on top of here, and a hole as they connect to the machine. If you can't see the oil hole, you might actually have to rotate this around in order for the oil holes to be present and easy for you to see. So this linkage right here needs a drop of oil every 8 hours. Okay, so that's spot number 1. Let me put this back on and then we'll go to the next area. Hello, Jocelyn from Central California. How you doing? All right. Now I'm going to tip this up. The next area is the bobbin area. And as I rotate the hand wheel, you can see the hook rotating around. There are some areas here that have big grooves. Do you guys see? I call them teeth. That is where the oil, 1 drop of oil goes every 8 hours. And after I saturate it, I roll this around a few times, and I usually will put some scrap fabric through the needle before I put my actual project through, just in case there was any oil residue. Okay, I'm going to turn this off so that it doesn't get you. The next place that has an every 8-hour oil hole is underneath. Okay, so you'll see that there's some very big shafts here. The center shaft is the one that it has the every 8-hour oil holes, and the holes are right here. This is a hole right here, and this is a hole right here. So at the top of both of those, of the silver shaft, not the black shafts, but the silver shafts, that's an every 8-hour oil hole. So this is after you have already gone through and done every oil hole, which is in a different live from a couple weeks ago. You are really going to want to make sure you address those 3 areas for ongoing use. Okay, can you flip that around for me, helper? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let me just make sure there hasn't been any questions. Was there any questions on Insta? Okay. Awesome. So that is the information I wanted to give you. So we're going to call this part 3 of buying your first featherweight. Again, when the machine lands in front of you, what do? You really are, if you wanted to replace the disposable parts, you'd be in at about $40-ish. And we do have entire maintenance kits also available on the site that has all of those disposable parts and a number of resources and tools in the bag. So that might be something you'd be more interested in. There's a bit of a savings if you buy everything versus each of the parts a la carte. If you have any other questions for me regarding what to do when your machine lands in front of you, I'd love to have a conversation with you on the phone and talk you through changing the belts and all of that fun stuff. My next live will be on Wednesday. Wednesday, I will be interviewing another friend, lady entrepreneur in the sewing industry. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to make the announcement that morning. And then Friday, I hope that you guys will be joining me for the Sip and Sew, which is one of my favorite nights of the week. And continued progress will be done on the Tula Pink Winter Bed Quilt. Just so before I let you go, last Friday, I lost that piece, and so I didn't get to finish all of my my blocks. I ended up having to make a whole nother half square triangle. I can't believe I lost that. It's going to show up here. But I finally have 9 in this colorway blocks ready to go. I still have 2 more colorways and 8 of each of those colorways, but I feel like I'm making progress. And actually, I was working on the other colorways today, and they should hopefully be ready to go by Friday. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and I hope everybody has a great week and just, stays healthy and safe out there. Thank you for joining me. Again, this is Darlene with Featherweight Doctor. Have a great day. Sure, you turn